Hello, my name's Tom Cahill. It's 17:10 on the 7th of May 2017. The reason for this video is quite simple. A little while ago I kind of coined a phrase, McCann Phase 2, right? McCannPhse, the number 2, right? McCann Phase 2. And what that is something I've come up with. I was the one who invented it. Now, I haven't actually invented other phrases in the past, and then they've started to get used a lot. I don't know if this will get used a lot or not, I'm not sure. But you see, the thing is, I've found that sometimes if you can't think of a sort of catchy, provocative hashtag for something, right? Because I'm not one person who uses them really at all. But I think they're actually quite a good idea. Like, Twitter can actually be useful, even though it just seems like a completely pointless thing unless you actually start seeing how useful it can be, because you can reach out and touch people. And quite a lot of people have taken themselves off Twitter when I've shown an interest in them, because once you point out what they're doing something wrong or embarrassing, that most people just can't take it. You know, like most people have a very low threshold to being embarrassed or being exposed when they're doing something wrong. And let's face it, there's a lot of people out there who are doing a lot of stuff wrong. So if you're doing something seriously wrong or very, very embarrassing, or you're doing something seriously wrong and embarrassing, and or, you know, hanging around with very, very suspicious people, which would imply that there's something very, very suspicious going on, you know, Twitter's not really the place for you. I can tell you that now. And a lot of people have found this out. I don't know how many people have taken themselves off Twitter as a result of me, but there's been quite a few. And also there's been people, they normally just block me, but anyone involved with paedophile normalisation, I mean, fuck them. They're fair game. Don't fuck them. Actually, just castrate them. That's what should happen, shouldn't it? Put them in prison. But the thing is that with these people, they are fair game, and you know, I wouldn't say I'm not one of these people who goes around making life difficult for people, like in a kind of in an unpleasant way. But you know, if their life can be made difficult just by you pointing out something they've done which is completely wrong or subversive, then you know, that's not me being bad, is it? You know, telling somebody to stop doing something bad or explaining to other people that they're doing something bad isn't. Right, anyway, so the point of this is McCann Phase 2 isn't particularly catchy, and it's not particularly good, I don't think. But the point is, it's just, I couldn't think of anything better to explain how it was so obvious that all eyes on the McCanns now have been twisted, or sorry, until just yesterday and today I found that these people putting up things. There's a university course where they're trying to say that anyone who doubts the parent's story is like basically a nutter, and they're making a university course about it. I mean, that's just completely mind boggles me, because I don't see how that's going to work. I mean, I think that person's going to get dropped like a, you know, in a very, very unpleasant manner at some stage. Unfortunately, I do think he is, because even though the person fully deserves it, because they know full well that if they're you know, that they're just putting out these pseudo-scientific courses. I mean, you deserve anything you get if you're doing stuff like that knowingly. Absolutely disgusting. And it's just degenerate. You know, it's one of the reasons why the country is so degenerate. It's because of these people working in virtually every industry, just got no sense of standards, and they're just quite happy to lie and cheat and mislead people, and they're just destroying the country. So, well, the country is half destroyed already. But the point is, it wouldn't take much to actually push it, get it back on the right level, because all it takes is a few, you know, 1 or 2% of the population who, you know, basically run everything. And I don't mean the elite, or what people call the elite. I mean, you know, the actual intelligent people who won't actually just go along with absolutely anything. All it takes is 2 or 3 of them in 100 people, maybe even 2 or 3 of them in 1,000, or maybe 2 or 3 of them in 1,000,000, and you know, you do get real change, because they can be very difficult to deal with, you know. But the point is, this McCann Phase 2 issue, I think, is going to be a big issue, and it is important to sort of establish it as an actual thing, like give it a word so that people understand, or a phrase, so that people actually know what it is, because it's very clear what they're doing. They're now changing from, you know, believe the McCanns, we believe the McCanns, feel sorry for a little girl, blah 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 blah, to now they're allowing comments underneath, you know, mainstream media articles on the internet where people can slag them off. The whole point is, right back at the start, it was basically a minor news event, really. Even if it had really happened, it clearly didn't happen. They kept going on and 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 on about it. There was information available which was would have put the parents in a bad light from day one, but they would present it all as though it actually put them in a good light. And for anybody to not realise that it was their intention way back then to twist the whole thing back on them, and to just make the thing be wheels within wheels within wheels, or alleged wheels within wheels within wheels, as opposed to actual real things that really happened, it beggars belief. It's so obvious. Just quickly, I'd say, to finish off, other hashtags I've done, there was one called pedologic, like PEDOLOGIC. Right now, that's not something I think anybody else has ever said. Maybe there's one or two people who've said it, but actually I don't think I think I invented it, but somebody else might have already said it at some stage. Do you see what I mean? And you know, add one word. Pedo space logic, you'd find quite a lot of entries if you put that into the internet, I suppose. And I think I tested and you did. But you see, in terms of it actually being a kind of a hashtag, I was the only person who ever used it. And as a kind of, you know, an actual specific phrase that could be used over and over and again. And that's a very useful phrase, because you see, the thing is, like, let's say, anybody who can have pedo logic put next to anything to do with them, they're not going to like that. And if you can legitimately do it, I'm not doing this just because it's a nasty thing you can say about that person, but it's the fact that if you're trying to get somebody to actually reconsider their position and actually do their job properly, or, you know, not support some raving paedophiles or some kind of gender-bending, disgusting agenda like getting little children to be mutilated so they can be girls rather than boys and stuff like this, that's absolutely disgusting. And people who promote that, you know, they're fair game, because it's disgusting. And of course it's going to massively mentally damage the children. But then again, now the generation in this country is so bad, watching telly is going to massively damage children. You know what I mean? Everything's damaging children. It's going to get to the point where sexual abuse of children won't really have as profound an effect compared to a normal kid, I don't think, as it would have done 50 years ago, because they've got so much degenerate filth around them all the time that it won't really, I just don't even think it even bother them after a while. And you see, that's where the Satanists want us, don't they? They want us going round abusing children, because as soon as you start abusing children and having sex with dogs and having fancies for goats, right, you turn into, like, basically some of the cultures that live in other countries or have lived in the past, and they don't really have proper societies. They're just like a big mess of peasants who just wander about the place and, you know, get aid sent to them from England. That's what will happen in England. Who will send the aid if the West is completely destroyed? There'll be no one to send the aid. So those, you know, just degenerate masses, hordes that live in other countries that just basically wander about the place and, you know, get really annoyed about completely pointless stuff that's not even worth getting annoyed about, and, you know, their whole lives are completely pointless. Basically, everything about them is pointless, and that is what the aim is. And once everything is pointless, society disappears, and this has happened in every single major empire in the past. Degeneracy sees them destroyed. You know, any sort of, you know, really domineering empire that was like the major one in the world, the only way they can actually fall is through degeneracy internally, and that's what's going to happen now. But McCann Phase 2, very important, because they're pushing all of people's attention into that, and a lot of their attention in McCann Phase 2 is going to be hate-driven. Now, your average person may dislike things, but really, especially if they're a Western person, well, I can only really speak for them because I am one, they're Christian based, right? Now, the concept of hating somebody isn't really something they're really familiar with. They hear about it a lot. They hear that people are hating everybody, but it's not something that they actually have. They might hate one person or two people or whatever, but they don't normally hate many people, and they normally hate them for a very good reason. And often when they say, oh, I hate them, they're more like they hate them for what they've done. They've done something very bad, or they perceive they've done something very bad. So they're introducing this concept of absolute, like, kind of venomous hatred for these scumbags, these McCanns, and that's why they've set the McCanns up to look so horrible. And like, they look horrible. They just, yeah, they behave in a very inappropriate way. You know, like, things like even going to see the Pope will wind people up. It will just infuriate them. So that could have been the reason they got them to see the Pope. Do you see what I mean? Because back then, they were planning for McCann Phase 2. And as well, things like Kate McCann writing about little girls' vaginas in a book. I mean, I don't even like talking about this type of stuff. But she has done that because then someone's going to look at it and they're going to get really, really angry. Anyway, you can look that up, that specific thing up if you want to hear more about what she was saying, because it's a lot more inappropriate than what I'm saying here now. And I'm just repeating what she's done. But again, why would she do that? She's doing it to wind you up, to get you to hate her. And when you're hating two people, I mean, Chris Bivvy says they don't exist. Look, or people say, what do you make? When you say Madeleine McCann didn't exist, do you mean they made like a Photoshop of a little girl? Did they basically draw a sort of animated little girl? And you're just like, you fucking idiots. No, they just got a little girl. And they're like, what? Well, then she's real then, isn't she? Like, no. They're just totally... I get very sick of explaining the morons, which is most of the country. I find it very difficult, you know, talking with them about these types of things, because it's so blatantly obvious. And yet they'll never get it. But the whole point is that their hatred and their fear and all this stuff is all channeled into these fake news events. And it's just like a day, I said almost fucking head exploded, the day that I was actually busy doing something incredibly stressful. So it was also already would have been the most stressful day of the year. And then they pulled that Lee Rigby event. And it was like, I was so angry. I was all very angry about something anyway, and I don't really normally get very angry, and I don't normally get visibly stressed. It's something I don't really seem to... People don't really notice I'm stressed. I might fidget and stuff, but you know, like that's just too much energy. It's not like a sort of negative stress. But with me, I kind of internalise it. I don't almost realise I'm stressed until sometimes afterwards. I'll start acting up and stuff, and then I'll realise, you know, like drinking too much, something like that. And I wonder, why was I doing that? And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, you'll think, oh, of course you were doing that, it's because of this. But you know, at the time, I'm not conscious of it. But anyway, that's what I meant by acting up. But yeah, the thing is that this manipulating people's hatred and fear is a very, very serious thing, and it shouldn't be underestimated. It's not, I mean, it is funny, it's very funny. But at the same time, it's also very bad, because a lot of funny stuff is bad, isn't it? But the thing is that when that Rigby's head was allegedly getting cut off, I spoke to somebody who was a copper on the phone. Not because he was a copper, it's just I incidentally had to speak to him about something, not in a police capacity, right? And anyway, I had to speak to this guy. And did he phone me or I phoned him? I think he phoned me. And he started going on about fucking people's heads getting chopped off. And it's just like, I think he actually believed it as well. And he was saying, no, he got sort of inside track. So I found out about this bullshit before everyone else. And then I went back to the house I was staying in at the time. I was staying with somebody. I wasn't where I was normally living. And they were like ranting on about people getting their heads chopped off. And you just like want to walk out the house and just wander off for like 6 hours just to avoid them, because you know they're going to be all het up. There's no way. There's nothing you can do for them though. Anyway, I want to finish that off now because the phone's ringing. Right, bye now.